Hello, dear friends. Here we are, 40 nights with the Master, the Promised Consoler. And he's here with us. He's not skipping class. And neither our friends, Karen and Mark. Mark and Karen.
Again.
Yay. It's a joy. And the discarnate spirits are also here. And they're everywhere. And they want us to use our time, the best of our abilities to make sure that we don't skip this class and focus on our immortal lesson today and always, right? Day 31. Day 31, believe it or not, let us recall, Jesus spent 40 days in the desert. Unimaginable. And he was preparing himself for the ultimate challenge, the ultimate lesson for us before his passion. He knew it. And there were reasons. What do you do when you know you're going to face a challenge? Do you have a plan? It's important, friends. Master Jesus is teaching us that when you know you're going to go through a challenging time, that you know you need to excel for the sake of your love for God. You need to regroup yourself, make sure that you are fully aligned, that you are attuned with God so you can fulfill your ultimate challenge with awareness, connection, harmony with God. The 40 days were of a lot of work for sure. Jesus was not there simply meditating, etc. He was making business calls through his mental phone. Yeah, for sure. He's a cosmic master. And I say cosmic in the sense he's beyond what we know on the earth. But he's teaching us that you, with your mind, you connect. With your vibrations, you connect. And I do too. Right? So today the lesson is about this unrestricted outreach. What is it? It comes from chapter 27, titled Na Vinha do Senhor, in the Lord's Vine, or in the Vine of the Lord, in the book Contos desta e de outra vida, in Portuguese, not yet in English, but few chapters are coming live here between us, thanks to a teamwork effort in two worlds. This chapter is funny at times, in a way. Can be deeply saddening in other sense, but at the end, it's very truthful, and it's for you and I. It's the guidance. Are you ready? Because I'm gonna tell you, if we read this, we discuss about this, after we start it all, we'll be ever more responsible with similar situations that happen in our lives. Ready? Set.
Go!
Go! Our dear friends are here, and here we are. Chapter 27, in the Lord's Vine. And let me share here. Yeah. Oh, community. You know, the phone plays tricks. Yeah, but the Facebook right here now is helping me on the computer. Hello, community. Lea Severo, how are you? Anna Dilson, how are you? Eric and Danny, how are you? And Josara, beautiful sunflowers, Josara. That's the direction. Focusing on God. Let us be sunflowers. And Josara saying hello, Carrie Mark.
Hello, we'll be there at the Sunflower
Yeah, they'll be at the symposium. Are you, friends? Are you? We'll be there celebrating, singing, and dancing, and learning, and serving, and eating, and sleeping. Hopefully, Virginia allows us to sleep. Right? That's the reality. And sunshine, how are you? And here we have beautiful Constance. Beautiful garden you're creating for us. Thank you, Constance. Thank you, Rosalind, Rosa, and Nilda. How are you? Rihanna, how are you, Rihanna? Ceisa, pink flowers. Woo, love it. So, how are you, Anna? McCarthy, Claire. Friends, you ready? Let us visualize ourselves in this beautiful room with all of us together and the spirit teachers, our guardian angels, the protecting spirits, teaching us. Let's open our hearts and be permeable, right? I'm ready. Inhabiting the modest house in Jerusalem, that would later be the first sanctuary of the apostles, Simon Peter reflected. He remembered Jesus, who was always surrounded by a blessed work to be accomplished. Peter wanted action. He sighed for tasks to accomplish, and so he prayed fervently. When the most ardent tears came to him, with which he begged from heaven the grace to serve, the Master appeared for him. Jesus was as compassionate and serene as in the unforgettable days, when both bathed themselves together in the same light, under the same light by the banks of the Lake Tiberias. Lord, begged Simon, I aspire to extend to you the glorious blessings. I left the lake to follow you. You said that you would make us fishermen of souls. I want to witness the divine mission of your gospel of love and light. And because the heavenly visitor was looking at Peter in silence, Peter added, in a voice soaked of his weeping, when will you send your service to our hands? The divine lips parted gently, and the apostle listened as Jesus became invisible again, saying, tomorrow, tomorrow. More encouraged, the old fisherman waited the next day. Awaiting the mandate of the eternal benefactor, Peter devoted himself to the domestic cleansing since sunrise, gracing the simple room with dewy roses early in the morning. Enchanted, in sweet expectation, just as he prepared for the morning meal, deafening racket reaches his ears. Under violent punches, the simple door lets in a half-naked man with an anguished expression, while soldiers and folks roared outside, besieging the stronghold. The newcomer looks at Simon and begs for his help. He has tears in his eyes, and his heart is beating unbridled in his chest. The host recognizes him. It was Joashas, the evildoer. For a long time, he had been sought by agents of the order, the police. Exasperated, Peter responds firmly, "Help you? Why? You're nothing more than a recurrent thief. Not teeth, thief. Don't you love English? Me too. And with small ears to the supplication, Peter summons the man, delivering the unhappy man who at once was set up on the way to prison. Satisfied with himself, the apostle put his hope in the works he would be allowed to do. When soon after, a perfumed litter gave him to the presence of a sad woman with macerated cheeks, contrasting with the costly silk in which she sought to shine. Peter identified her. It was Junia, beautiful Greek-Roman woman who made herself a strange flower of pleasure in Jerusalem. She was sick. She was tired. She implored for medicine and spiritual guidance. The master of the house, however, shouted resolutely, "Not here. Your place is in the public square, where everyone can throw contempt and irony on your face." Mamma mia. The unfortunate individual or woman stepped away, wiping her eyes. And glad with himself, Peter kept waiting for the day, the mission of the day. Somewhat distressed, at dusk, Peter noticed that someone was knocking insistently at the door. He hurriedly opened the door to a fallen and swollen body, the one of Jaron, the systematic and semi-unconscious drunk, who was asking for refuge against the mob of cruel young men who stoned him. Peter did not hesitate. "Drunk, infamous!" Peter shouted in revolt. "Do not offend the master's compound with your vomit." And almost kicking the man out of the door, Peter expelled the drunk without mercy. The immense night fell over the city in extreme dryness. Simon was disappointed as he repeated his last prayers. He meditated before a flickering torch when the beloved master stood out from the mist. "Oh, Lord," claimed Peter, weeping, "I waited for you all day without you sending me the promised task." Demanding disciple. "How come?" said the master in a bitter tone. "3 times I begged you for cooperation today, and you did not hear me." And before the memory of the companion who remembered and understood belatedly, Jesus continued, "In the morning I sent you Judas, our hapless brother, who you could have helped to renew his existence, but you turned him into the prison. Afternoon, I delivered Junia to you, poor sister, demented and sick, so you could medicate and clarify her in my name and explain things to her. However, you condemned her to vilification and sarcasm. In the evening, I sent you Jaron, a disgraceful companion whose vices make him insane, and yet you have thrown your feet against him." "Lord," sobbed the apostle, "great is my ignorance, and I didn't know. Pity me and help me with your guidance." Jesus caressed his trembling head and said generously, Peter, when you want to hear me, remember that the gospel has my word. Simon stretched out his arms, wishing to hold him close to his heart. The sublime Christ, as if hiding in the shadow, escaped his affectionate caress. It was then that the former fisherman of Capernaum, staggering, looked for the notes which he carried out, and opening them at random, he found verse 12, chapter 9, in Matthew's notes, in which the Master of Life asserts convincingly, I have not come for the healthy, because it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Here is crying, and I feel the same. Surprising? I don't think so. You know why? Nowadays, many people say, I want to help the poor, but I don't find them in the United States. But you know, you go to the Spiritist Center, there are people there who need something. Maybe they don't need the financial resources, but they need a break. A mother who needs to sleep. Somebody who can babysit, yeah? A father who needs a break. We have people who need a shoulder, to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, right? We need people to lean on at tough times without judging. But when we ask for help, people judge us. They say, yeah, you must have done something to deserve this. So then we're just like Peter. The point is, 2,000 years later. So where do we think we are, you and I, all of us? Therapeutic moment. Remember the blind spots. We don't want to be blind, because the sooner we identify our shortcomings, the freer we'll be. The freer we'll be. Are we like that? Always prioritizing the fulfillment of our needs? Or can we detach? People think detachment is all about material things, but it's a detachment of the needs of the ego. You need to fulfill a project. I need to fulfill a project. We need to do something. But maybe your child needs you. Maybe your friends need you. Maybe somebody who's sick needs you. So then, everything else is going to be accommodated. What is the priority in your life? In psychology of administration, human resources, we learned authors that talk about people who prioritize the task to be fulfilled in a team versus people who accommodate the needs of each person, in this case the employees. But in our lives, what do? Do you prioritize the needs of the people in your life, or do you prioritize the fulfillment of the tasks? I know for the longest time we have been doing the second one. Doesn't matter what happens, we can kill half a world just to make sure we fulfill the tasks. And then we go home, the family's sad, our health is bad, everything is bad. We fulfilled it, but almost in a homicidal, suicidal way. That's not good. Are we nourishing people's souls? Nourishment. Peter lived with Jesus for a few years. in that life. He learned from watching Jesus, but he couldn't grasp. Because Jesus was not like a talking master. You know, he was not like lecturing people. He would give tips and hints. He would make clarifications. But he wouldn't be oppressive. He was very accommodating and invitational, but he had boundaries. And today, we're going to learn a few things about the nonverbal lessons that I think are unique. In these 30 days, we haven't seen this. One of them, Jesus comes. Peter is like anxious, and Jesus is teaching us. The heavenly visitor looked at Peter in silence and let Peter continue. How often people come very anxious to us. They're so anxious. They want to do stuff, and we feel like we need to fulfill their expectations. We need to calm them down. What do you think? Jesus teaching us a lesson. Stay silent. Let people work on their feelings. And then the divine lips just said a few words. You see, Jesus is very loving, but he's not paternalistic. He's not like, oh, Peter, come on, come here, sit on my lap, like a baby. No. He's gonna empower you and I. He's gonna say, I know your needs, but come on, you can do it. Montessori way. Yes, you can do it. Tomorrow, you wanna help? And remember, Peter had tears. He was begging. He was very emotional. And Jesus didn't contaminate himself. Did not become paternalistic. Was not cold either. He was very empathic, but at the same time, empowering Peter. He empowered Peter. Okay? And then he goes away, empowering. Your child comes and say, I can't do it. Yes, you can. Here it is. Finish. I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And they finish. You don't say that, oh my gosh, I have to be here because they're not going to know. No, they know because they're children of God. Why doesn't Jesus have a paternalistic attitude? Because the only Father is God. And second, because his task is to guide us, to model things for us. And being paternalistic is not his role. To guide us, it's like a coach. The personal trainer in your gym cannot do the exercises for you. They can just encourage you and say, look, this is how you do it. Try it again. But they need to let you do it. Give the person space. Right? Right. Hello, Julija. How are you? Andrea, how are you? Elizabeth, how are you, my friend? And Fátima, how are you? Tânia and Greg, Rita de Cássia, how are you? Duska, beautiful flowers, beautiful hearts, love it all. Tia Abby, how are you? McCurfy Claire, you were shocked that Peter couldn't see it? You see, but today people don't see it. People say, I want to help people. But they have people right there in front of them and they say, I want to be a psychologist and I want to help people. They have people to be helped in their home, in their Spiritist Center, everywhere. But they want to try to convince you and I that they want to help people. but they're not helping people. The bottom line is they want to help themselves. Oh, but I want to be a doctor. But I want to be a psychologist. I want to help people. But the people who need help are right there in front of them. They don't want to do it. Just like Peter. Right? It's not a silly question, my perfect Claire. The blind spot exists in us. We need to find out. And Saul is saying we can help people with our thoughts, words, action. It's not only the material things. Right, my friend? When our hearts are ready to help people, we don't need to go to them. They come to us. Our love is like magnetic. So, thank you for sharing it. Constance, she's saying, I have opportunities every day in my job. I have all sorts of people needing a little help is a good word too. Right, Constance, a good word to make their day a better one. It's so meaningful. It's such a hard exercise of compassion and love. So right. Thank you, Constance. Now, another nonverbal lesson of Jesus. He's our guide and model. He's teaching us. So, Peter goes there, doesn't see it. And then, at the end of the day, Peter is disappointed, praying, and the master comes. Peter is crying, disappointed, and he's also demanding. Imagine your student telling you, I've been here and, right?
Right. That's
Demanding.
Very, very realistic.
Yes. Very realistic. People are very demanding. Students are demanding. This student, Peter, is very demanding. I waited for you all day without you sending me the promised task. Can you believe it?
Yes.
How can we demand things from the master? Any master, but the master. But you know, Mentor Joseph always tells me, Vanessa, people have a hard time to be obedient. For example, I remember when in the Spiritist passages, it says we need to respect the order of things in life. When Jesus said to all of us that give Caesar what is Caesar and God what is God's, Caesar means the temporary power of anything, the temporary hierarchy of anything. We need to respect. We can't work on debunking people because we disagree with them. Look at Chico Xavier when he was living under dictatorship. He was so influential, he could have created a commotion, nationally speaking. He didn't. He didn't even mention. He was following on the footsteps of Jesus. The footsteps of Jesus. Now, look at when you have your home. There is an order. You want your children to obey you. But are you a good person? Do you, in terms of obedience, are you good at obeying? How do you relate to your boss at work? Are you constantly being passive-aggressive and trying to see that you're better than the boss? Because that's what these disciples did with Jesus. They always thought that Jesus was forgetting something. What about your Spiritist Center? Do you respect that those who came first, who founded it, who are coordinating it, or you think like Judas? I have a better plan. This president of this Spiritist Center doesn't know that much. What about the coordination for a federation, Spiritist Federation? Do you respect? Or do you bump heads and try to create dissension? Do you? Because if you do, it's going to come back to you. It's like a boomerang. What we do with others is going to come back to us. Right? Respect. Like Jesus. If you don't agree, pray, but let them be. People have free will. They can do what they need. But if we're not obedient, if we're not collaborating with those whom we see with the physical eyes, how can you guarantee? How can I guarantee that I'm being obedient to God, whom I cannot see with the physical eyes, whom I cannot interact in the same way? We can't. As Joana de Angelis said, we can only lead when we obey. We can only be good at what we do when we obey God. How can we obey God if we don't obey the order of events, physically speaking? Right? McCarthy Claire, how can this happen? Yes, I'm just sharing, figuratively speaking. This can happen, McCarthy Claire, because, it happened to Jesus. It can happen anywhere. Jesus was there and Judas was there too. Judas had blind spots. He thought he had a better idea than Jesus. Can you believe it? And today there are people like this who think they know better than the people who have the required tasks A, B, C, D. What a waste. Look what happened to Judas. It's dramatic. We need to be more reverent, more respectful. If you don't agree, give the person a chance, talk to the person. And if you don't, do what you have to do. Don't envy the position that people are taking, not because they deserve, but because they need it to repair the mistakes of the past. Okay? And why am I saying this? Only God knows, and Mentor Joseph. I personally don't know why I'm saying this to you, but only God knows. Okay? We just say what the mentors are saying. I don't know anything about anybody. I'm just telling you because the text, Mentor Joseph is here, the good spirits. And they're saying, observe the audacity, but in a negative way. The daring attitude of Peter. He's crushed and he's demanding something of the master. He's reprimanding the master. Do we do this? Often people do it. And what does Jesus do? Now it's a surprise to us. The master said something to Peter in a bitter tone. A bitter tone? Yes. We've never heard that before, right?
Heard it before.
In a bitter tone.
In all of the accounts.
But Mark and Carol, let me open the discussion here with Mark and Carol. Since you guys are teachers,
Yes.
when do you think a student is being demanding and reprimanding? Do you think you can envision this form of bitter tone as an
Yes.
educational step,
Yes.
as a message?
Firmness in the voice and in the nonverbal language, and bitterness not as a punishment but as a way to deliver the message, so that the message finds roots inside of the student's heart. Because if we don't do that, the student may believe that he or she can simply dismiss it, and there will always be another day, and they don't necessarily need to reflect on what we're saying. At times this is very necessary. So I think, who am I to think of the master,
Yeah.
right? But in my understanding, he might have done that to awaken Peter and to help Peter to remember the lesson, because if he has said it in a different tone of voice, Peter may have accidentally dismissed the lesson.
Thank you, Carol.
That's my take.
Thank you. Right, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of hearing what others. I mean, it's a gift to some degree if you think about it. Jesus is giving a gift to Peter. He's saying, this is what I hear. This is how your statement makes me and others feel.
Exactly.
And if he doesn't give that emotion out, how would he ever know? If he smiles like I see some new teachers do sometimes when kids make mistakes or kids are misbehaving, and they go, you know, that's not going to help the kids who understand what's wrong with the situation that they're doing.
It's misleading.
It's misleading.
And also, Jesus is the most coherent master we've ever had on earth. So he showcases what he feels. He doesn't hide what he feels and acts in a different way because he's not fragmented. Because he's 100% honest, he uses his emotional body language and tone of voice to communicate the truth.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Mark and Carol. Thank you. Now, you know, hello, Sylvia. How are you? Where you're writing us from? Do you mind sharing? Rihanna, yeah, what said is needed. Exactly, we need change. Tomorrow, Tanya is sure that they'll be studying respect, judgment in our mediumistic group at the Bezerra de Menezes Spiritist Centers. Thank you. You see, we never know, but God knows, friends. But let's go back to this nonverbal lesson here. Mark and Carol helped us clarify. Imagine Peter coming, demanding the Master as an educator. He comes, and with his tone coherently, as Carol reminded us, he's saying, how come? Can you visualize Jesus in a bitter tone in the sense of like, how come? 3 times I begged you for cooperation today and you did not hear me. He's not like, as Mark is saying, like, oh, my dear buddy student. He's like, you know, I sent it to you. As if the student becomes the boss. Like teachers are doing nowadays. And parents are doing nowadays. Children at a certain age, when they are toddlers, they're learning how far they can go. And they test you. And parents are like afraid of putting limits. Like, oh, no, but Jesus is teaching us. It's for parents too. If your child is doing something or being authoritarian, you look at the child, nodding, like smiling, saying, like the other day, Virginia came to me like, Mom, you didn't buy this. Because I didn't buy something she wanted from the store. You didn't buy Twilight Sparkle goggles when she got to the car. I know it's cute, but then I thought, oh my gosh, I'm an educator, said Virginia. I told you that this is not summertime. You already have your goggles from the previous summer. And if you want new goggles, we need to ask God. Because I'm not sure we need to spend that money with new goggles. But I just want to hold it. I'm not so sure God wants us to buy anything and hold it. He wants us to use it or give to other people who can use it. And she was like, okay. She got it, never asked again, no tantrum, nothing. Because she felt with words and nonverbal messages that it wasn't nice. And I complimented to her, do you want me to say things like this to you in this way? No. So be nice to Mom. Be gentle. Please? I said, okay, Mom. See? Is this harsh discipline? No. Positive discipline. Loving, kind, but responsible. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of putting limits. You're helping the kid grow. Google the marshmallow experiment by Stanford University and I will say, you enjoy it, but you'll be shocked about how lack of limits can impact children in their adulthood. Well. Jesus is a master that is coherent. How easy is it for you to unify words with body language, expression, through body language. For example, as I once asked medical students, do you want your patients to trust you? Yes. Do you want them to see you as somebody who is reliable and accountable? Yes. How do you show it to them? And then they laughed. They're like, I don't know. Yeah. You need to be fully conscious to be good at it. And you're not deceiving. You're putting your mind over matter, creating awareness. So you need to practice in front of the mirror how you look like when you feel XYZ emotions. Look at yourself. Are you coming across as you think you are? And that's where the blind spot come again, especially in regards to our emotional management. We often don't think we're expressing to people what they're potentially seeing. And if people say, but Vanessa is this way, like, no, that's what I meant. And that's how I did it. That's how I expressed myself. So it's very, very important. For example, I'll give you an example. The way I hear my voice, and think about this for you. The way I hear my voice is very loud. For me. But when I talk to people or I give lectures, people are like, oh, Vanessa, you're so soft. I'm like, I didn't think I was sounding soft at all. For me, I was too much. For me. That's probably a mismatch physiologically. You know? The distance between the processing of my physical ears and the sound and other people make us have this mismatch. Anyhow, whatever explanation science can give, this exists. Sometimes we don't measure how much a facial expression can be heavy on somebody else. Like especially parents to children. That's why you're tall, you lower yourself, you kneel down to talk to children. You modulate the voice to talk to children. And parents are like, but I am being kind. No, you're not. Kindness is about going to their level. Right? So we need to train ourselves. And how do we train ourselves? Use your phone. If you don't like to look at yourself in the mirror, take your phone, nobody around, think about a conversation, and tape yourself. But don't look at your image. Do what I'm doing now. I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at my picture. I'm looking at the camera, hoping to look at you in the eye. And then I record the whole conversation as if I'm talking to somebody. And then later, when you feel like ready, watch it. Just observe. And ask yourself if the way you're saying things is coming across holistically as you think it is. It's not only about words, it's about how we say it, the way we say it, the pauses we give. And if you need to be silent, practice how you look like when you're silent, in silence. Because there are different types of silence. And this is going to boost our cortical areas in the brain that are responsible for that type of awareness, which is really advanced and unique. This type of training is highly advanced. Okay? Try it out. You're going to see, you're going to be surprised. But try different scenarios so you can see how you are coming across emotionally. You know, think about a situation when you're angry and you need to be composed. Try to talk to somebody thinking of something that angers you and see how you look like, if you can really disguise it, because then you see, oh, that's why I tried my best and people didn't buy it, because it was not ideal. I'm not saying how to disguise it, but how to manage it. Hello, Fred Gouveia, how are you? Right, Enilda? Okay, so we're learning with the Master the power of the nonverbal communication. There's one more thing here. When Peter, you see, he went from responding to Peter in a more firm way and saying, come on, how come? I gave you 3 times, 3 opportunities. But he didn't speak too much, enough. I mean, I go to places and I've been learning with Jesus. The day people talk 50% less, Mamma mia, this world's going to be a dream. Why? Because often we talk about things we don't need to talk. Just don't talk. Many people talk just because they're anxious, they're nervous, they want to feel they are in control of the scenario, and then they are sucking people's energies. Pray, teach your children not to talk, to observe, to think positively. Children are loud nowadays because adults speak too much, unless you go to China, to Asian countries where people learn how to be less verbal. But in Western society, people talk way too much, and Jesus is not a chatterbox. And if he is our guiding model, we need to learn with him. Talk less and more effectively, kinder. He's teaching us. He's so kind that Peter is sobbing. He's disconsolate. And that's when the true Master comes. He comes, caresses the head of the trembling man, and generously said he's abundant in his vibrations of love. You see how he manages? He needs to be firm and somewhat bitter, but very straightforward. And then when needed, he goes at the same time and embraces, caresses. How often we know to go this way? The firm and the loving, the limiting and at the same time the nourishing. To exercise this elasticity, it's stretching the muscles like yoga. It's emotional yoga. Okay? You stretch. Like, ooh. Very difficult. But we need to put mind over matter to do it. And he says one thing. Peter, when you want to hear me, remember the gospel. The gospel has my word saying, go read what's already written. In other words, he's saying, I'm not going to repeat to you what I have already said, but he said it with kindness. And that's why Peter obeyed, opened the gospel, and found Matthew's report. Jesus is not like, Peter, remember? Come on, he was here. He gave his life, and you forgot it? But he's saying kindly, right? And then when Simon is going to hug Jesus, Jesus goes away. Like, seriously? Why does he go away? Because he's not empathetic to Peter's feelings? No. He's educating Peter. He said, Peter, learn the lesson first. Without words. I think beyond what you already know, and I know, the unrestricted outreach, the charity, which is the only pathway for us to feel this harmony. Without charity, there is no salvation. Beyond what we already got is this behind the scenes that only the promised consoler could give us, what Jesus could not have told us before. But now, thanks to the scholars of the spiritual realm, including the fantastic writer Humberto de Campos, Brother X, the beautiful mediumship, transparent mediumship, devoted mediumship, sacred mediumship of Chico Xavier, We've come to know of lessons that are unprecedented. Let's talk less. Let's sing more. Why not, right?
Why not?
Let's sing more. Let's rejoice. Let's be more mindful. Let's stretch the muscles of our emotional management and be more harmonious, right? That's the lesson for all of us, friends. Jesus is calling us to remind us that the world is filled with people that are in need of help. And He's waiting for you and I to cooperate with Him. You ready? Yes? So let us trust in the beauty of being collaborators, cooperators. And those who co-pilot, they don't talk too much. They fulfill, they learn to be obedient. It's the consent of our reasoning. Talking about reasoning, Kardec said that our faith is unshakable because we're using our reasoning. Shall we do it? Yes. Rihanna, we hope Kardec Radio is going to be there to transmit the symposium, okay? And there will probably other ways, all right? For now, let us rejoice. Rejoice and feel the joy of being asked and being trusted with the opportunity to co-pilot. Do you have the map? No? Get your map. Have a beautiful night. Rejoice and share. Say bye to Karen Mark and have a beautiful day too.
Bye, guys. Much love.